I'm gonna have to figure out how to make this green work. Oh, hello, monster lovers, monster enthusiasts. I'm Monster Master Arthur. Welcome to World of Monsters. That's right, where we cover all monsters of myth and legend and cryptozoology. Today we're talking about the Jidra. That's right, the Jidra, also known as the lumberer's nightmare. Not really, I just made that up. That's right, we're covering the Jidra, which is a plant-like humanoid creature, and we'll get more into the details a little bit later in this video. Our oldest account on the Jidra go back to 1858, where it is found in a book, a bestiary that was written by a German rabbi by the name of Ludwig Lusen. I'm not sure how to say it. He included the Jidra in a compendium of creatures that he found existed at that time. When Rabbi Ludwig discovered these write-ups on the creatures, he probably presented with a little bit of religious bias. Our story starts with the Jidra's history in Mesopotamia. According to Ludwig, the Jidra had a pumpkin-type body, so a gourd, which was humanoid-shaped. It was rooted in the ground and could not move from it. It was known to eat anything that would cross its path or come within distance. And some may believe that it was a borrowed or stolen idea from is the mandrake, which was included in his writings as well. In those days, a lot of information such as this was gathered by witches and Wiccans and shamans into their more spiritual understandings of these plants. So it is possible that the rabbi had found these writings or such and taken some of his ideas from those. The creature is so rare within our history. As I mentioned before, the closest thing to it is the mandrake root. If you know the story of the mandrake root in its mythology, then you know that when you cut it down or when you kill it, it emits this terrible screaming sound. So the Jidra follows along the same lines. As I said before, it is probably the mandrake root, but a little different altered version of the story. For further research, one can find that bestiary. It is called Zoologie des Talmunds. It was written in 1858, and it is in German. Another odd bit of history on the Jidra. It is said that when you take its bones and grind them and mix them with wine, you can create a strong antidote. Now this is odd. Would a plant have bones, or would it have some strong structures within or bark outside that's rather hard that would be grinded? Or would it have bones within it, bones that help it move and create joints and things like that? Would these bones have the same material as animal bones and human bones, or would the bone structure be based off of something different, something more like old bark? Do you speak? Can you speak? You don't move much. Hard to believe a Jidra is your cousin. Now, going into its appearance in more detail, as I've mentioned, there isn't much backing story given to it. The closest thing is the mandrake. This is a gourd. If you want to go along those lines, you're going to make a kind of organically rounded body that is rooted into the earth and can grab on. Maybe it has a huge head, huge mouth, huge teeth. It's up to you, but it is ferocious. As the artwork appears within this video, you can clearly make different assumptions on the creature and different creations, and you can go pretty far with it. I'd say remain with these rules. Keep it earthed within the ground and don't go more than maybe 20 feet or so. So we're talking as large as tall trees and such and cactuses. If you want to go beyond the realm of the gourd, then of course you can give it more of that tree shape or tree form or the vine form or different flowers, even the huge Venus flytrap aggressive type of appearance. Color, you should be able to explore anything that is in the gourd family. So we're talking possibly purples, yellows, greens, oranges, reds, also whites, such as cucumber whites and greens. Would there be male and female type of creature plants? Well, I think you can refer to botany or the study of plants for that. So you would have certain possible Jidras that would have flowers and would flower, and certain ones that would not. Or you can explore another realm, or they would all have flowers and they would be all asexual or self-reproductory. So as I've mentioned, you can add branches to it, you can add vines that go throughout the air all over the place, or other vegetables. Maybe it has the vegetables that hang off it that it uses to punch or something. Maybe it doesn't have claws like every creature out there. Maybe it has body parts that are actually fruits or vegetables that it slams people with. As we know, there's huge fruits and vegetables out there that grow very high up on trees, mostly in the Asian parts of the world, and those even can fall and kill people at times. So consider something like that hitting an opponent in the face. Also consider hurdling vegetables, fruits, large things like that, nuts, coconuts, whipping, hurdling, choking, grasping. Thorns, rows of thorns. Maybe it will cut you down before you get a chance to cut it. How would it feed? How would it breed? Well, breed, we already mentioned that, as you can see in botany, or you can get a little bit more creative in that and link some more fauna biology, as in creature, animal type of biology, into the plant itself, and maybe they can breed. If they can reach each other, they can breed physically in a more animal type manner. As far as food goes, I would say since it's rooted in the ground, it will take nutrients out of the ground, it will take water out of the ground, but probably eating something would be essential, sort of like carnivorous plants. If you don't feed them eventually, and even if you do feed them, eventually the feeding heads, those parts of the plants like Venus flytrap, will fall off, new ones will grow. So it depends where your mouth is. Does your Jidra have many mouths on it, or is there just one huge one in the center of it somewhere, or something like that? But if you have many everywhere, you would have to consider that some of those would wilt and die. Maybe some appear first as flowers, then when they blossom to another stage, they grow a mouth. So something to consider. Movement is energy. Whatever a creature has to move, it takes in a lot of energy, and water is not enough to provide that. So it would have to feed on something else. Maybe if it doesn't feed on creatures enough, maybe it grows less vicious, or maybe it grows more aggressive. If it doesn't feed in a long time, maybe its mouths start to wilt and it becomes a different kind of creature. I would say there's not much of a society structure. Being rooted in the ground would probably keep them as solitary type creatures, disconnected from one another. Would there be cannibalism? I think there would be cannibalism maybe at accidental moments, but once they start feeding on another Jidra, I think they would realize it's kind of like eating themselves and it's not providing much nutrition for them, and they would stop. So I think to a certain degree it would exist. So same with culture, society, not much there within the Jidra lifestyle. Classification, it would have to be a botanical type creature that is rooted. Would it be able to use weapons? No, nothing other than its natural things. I don't think it would have enough intelligence, although it's up to you, again, to use something. Maybe if it's more of a tree ant or a tree man type creature, then it could use some kind of sticks and rocks and all kinds of stuff as weapons, so it's possible. Maybe slingshot with vines some rocks over somewhere, or use huge clubs, stuff like that. But I would probably say it's more of a, I don't want to say primitive, but animalistic type creature, so therefore it would depend on its own growths. It would probably have the ability to trip people with its roots. Would the roots be able to attack you, or only the upper part of the plant? Okay, quickly, on the power level scale, let's say power level 1 is a beetle and at 10 is a controller of time and space. I would give the Jidra a 4 to 5, 4 for a smaller one, but probably 5. If we're talking size up to 20 feet, I would say keep your Jidras less than 20 feet. Of course, if they be over 20 feet and these huge titanous creatures out there, then we would probably have more of that in our history and some stories behind it. So let's keep it realistic to what the discovery of it holds and keep it 20 feet or shorter. So with that power, we're hitting at a power level of 4, being able to give ogres and such creatures and some trolls a decent battle out there. And regular humans, say goodbye. Well, some giants, I think, could lose a fight with a powerful Jidra being tangled in the roots and within the body. Some strengths and weaknesses. Strengths, I would say, very durable. Endurance, very high. Feeding off of water, being able to survive through prolonged periods of times without feeding. Having multiple limbs and things like that to attack with would be another advantage. A lot of weapons within the structure itself. Growth and healing. Of course, if you cut one down, cut some of it down, or maybe cut off one of the branches, maybe two will grow out just like the Hydra. So some advantages, of course, what plants hold. Very speedy healing and strength, and the ability to grow fast and maybe tangle up their victims. If you uproot it or cut it at the trunk, it may have the ability to crawl after you, but it does emit that terrifying scream, that blood-curdling, uncomfortable sound, so that means that it probably has quite a tremendous weakness when you do cut it or remove it from the ground. So would it chase you by crawling? I think it would have the ability and less chance at choking you as it dies itself. I think it would be a rather quick death. Could it root itself back into the ground quickly? Maybe the roots don't grow as fast as the top parts. Possibly if it's a very aggressive, crazy Jidra that you have created, then it could root itself back into the ground and within a week or two have its strength back almost to normal. Weaknesses: shovels, cutting weapons, anything that can cut the trunk of the Jidra, anything such as fire or dryness, high heat or lack of rain are also a big problem. If this is more of a gourd creature, it's used to possibly growing in dry climates. It depends what kind of climate you put it in. And possibly lack of passing by creatures. Is it an ambush creature, or does the Jidra always show its lively self to every victim? One more weakness probably would have to include bugs and plant-based diseases. Sure, bugs are no match for a Jidra, but when you've got thousands of them and in different crevices that are hard to reach, yes, even plants have hard-to-reach places, then bugs and insects are something to consider, and other such creatures. Maybe huge behemoth-sized creatures walk around that love to eat Jidras. It has to have some way of attracting its prey. Maybe it emits enticing sounds, since we do know that it screams when you cut it down. Also consider large leaves. Maybe it provides shelter from the sun or rain for creatures and then devours them. Maybe it attracts people and creatures and even insects with beautiful flowers or a large flower at top. But you have to consider, what if nothing passes it for a year or two? Will it survive or will it die? Also considering the absorption level of the creature, since it is a plant. Poisons, acids, such things will have fast, tremendous effect on it, so another great weakness. And of course, its inability to move from one place to another. As far as allies, enemies, factions, it's probably quite neutral and just reacts on what it needs to feed on. Could it have allies such as elves, fairies, and such? It's possible. Alright, finally, let's go to our sources and references. As you know, there's not much information out there, so do check out, if you are interested in further reading in German, Zoology des Talmunds by Ludwig Lusen. And also, the Jidra has been featured in a Final Fantasy game. I believe it was Final Fantasy XI, and possibly others. No movies will be mentioned, since none of them actually feature a Jidra. Since we don't have much information on the Jidra, we can give you a lot of references to check out other creatures to compare with it. Alright, similar beasts include tree folk, treemen, or treants, or trents, however you refer to that term as. Those, of course, are similar, although they can move from place to place. We also have the mandrake, which is probably the closest cousin to the Jidra, if not truly, in fact, in history, the same thing. Jack-o'-lanterns, something to consider. It is a gourd, it is a pumpkin. The Airman Sul of Pathfinder, growing up to 20 feet. Jinmenju, Pathfinder, take a look at that one. Capri, another one, odd. Saguaroi, a cactus-based creature. That one is pretty cool. I think a lot of similarities could possibly exist with that one. Here's Anthony out there with the Xanth novels and his tangle trees, and of course the infamous The Gourd. Then we got fungus men or mushroom men. Types of trolls, nature-based, tree-based trolls. Trolls can take on very sort of adaptive, camouflaged appearances with their environments. Black willows from Dragonlance. Kleepoth, Cedar Wretch. Also, I'd like to mention there's many types of elementals and smaller sub-elementals, maybe in nature or a greenery type elemental, earth elemental, elemental kin. Those usually represent something smaller, maybe like a stone, but in this case it could be a little plant running around, things like that. Then we also have to look into deities. Hey, the Green Man. Shout out to the Green Man. Delete. Ooh. I have to Photoshop that one. There's countless of these types of creatures out there. Tree-based creatures, forest, plant-based creatures that are out there with their specific names and types. The Fae and nymphs can often resemble the appearance of treemen, or smaller treemen, or more petite tree folk. Even wood elves sometimes have a very plant-like appearance, so anything like that could relate and make your Jidra story a bit more realistic, believable, and fun to experience. So next time you take a stroll in the forest and you feel like something's watching you, remember, hundreds of pounds of treacherous wood is no joke. Hope you enjoyed this episode of your YouTube Bestiary, and this has been Monster Master Arthur. Please let me know what creature, what monster of myth and legend would you like me to tell you all about next. Thanks for watching, guys.